Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
I'm Jonathan Federa. I'm here to inspire you to hustle and grow your income while doing what you love. Just because you have problems doesn't mean you can't prosper. Just because you have tragedy doesn't mean you can't triumph. Actually, you should be taking advantage of that.
There's positivity in my pain. I took scarcity and turned it into strength. I always tell life, there's not much you can do to me where I won't make an obstacle an opportunity. We never lose, we only learn lessons. If you wanna change your perspective. If you don't know how to do that, we'll show you how right now. Cause it's about to go down. You are tuning in to creating success out of failure. Creating success creating success out of failure. Out of failure.
Okay, hi guys, welcome back to Creating Success Out of Failure podcast. My co-host Jonathan Federa is not with us today, but I have an amazing guest for you, and I am super psyched to introduce her. She is a best-selling author. She's an entrepreneur. She's a speaker, and she's just a real inspiration to all women business owners everywhere. I'm really excited to chat with her today. Her name is Tracy Cousineau. So hello, Tracy. Welcome.
Thank you, Jessica. I look forward to this because I can tell you I've had a lot of failures that have led to success. So I'm grateful for being here.
We all have, and it's funny because we were just talking offline, like everyone always does their highlight reel. And obviously you're an amazing, accomplished woman, and I want to hear all about that. I want our audience to hear all about it. But the things that led you to become the woman today, that's really where the juicy goodness is. And that's where we can teach other women, empower them, empower other entrepreneurs to kind of plow through those moments and keep reaching for the success that they desire.
Absolutely. Just even going back as a child and growing up in the mindset and the lifestyle of back then is I wasn't able to share my story. I wasn't able to have conversations outside of, if anybody asked you, oh, how is your sibling so-and-so doing? Well, if they weren't really doing well, you just had to say, oh, they're great. And everything was like roses and no glass walls and windows and houses. And so everything was just hush, hush, don't talk, shut up. You didn't have a voice. And so I lived in this like really shy introvert human body. But as you can tell, I'm like, blah, like I am not an introvert. And so I wasn't sharing, I was the one that wouldn't do the book report in front of the class. I was taking the 0. I was the one who wasn't showing up in lots of places in my life because I had developed this fake life of being this introvert until I knew it was okay and that failure was okay and that our past doesn't define our today. And it's who we show up every day. And as long as you're better than the day before, when you wake up that next day, you're showing up. Don't show up as showtime, but show up as you. Show up as a human. Tell your stories because you grow yourself from being able to get those monkeys off your back. It's okay if you had addiction before. It's okay if you went through a divorce before. Whatever your story is, I can promise you that so many other people have been down that road, and it's okay to be open and real and vulnerable and humbling on, your journey and your route. And I just believe that we were led here to have different journeys. We were led here to have bigger passions than our minds can think of, because once you start to open those opportunities and find solution, you're going to find you have bigger passion and you have a bigger empire that you can actually build than what you were doing the day before. And so, I went through, divorce. I've lost my house before. I've hidden my car from repo men and they found it. And I've gone through these journeys and during the Great Recession, when I really lost it all, and I was a single mom of 3 children with $156 in my checking account. I was waking up every day as the victim and I wasn't looking for the solution of it. I didn't understand how to find the solution of it. I was hanging out with people that were the force of average, that didn't want me to succeed. They wanted me to fail with them and just continue to be lower than average. And I was holding up a bar at night. I was leaving my children at home and I wasn't a good parent, a good family member, a good community supporter. I wasn't a good leader, but I sure could drink at the bar, and it really sucked. But I didn't know how to get out of it, because at that point I had not learned that I was adopted, and that addiction runs in that side of my family.
Oh, wow.
And then I learned about addiction, and I learned that I had severe ADHD, and I learned that living in this world that I was stuck in as an introvert and not speaking my voice and not telling my story and not learning from my story, I was waking up every day. And I mean, this was the motion, and I play it back to myself every day, because I never want to do that. But I would look up and I would pray and I would say, okay, God, if you have anything else, get me while I'm already down. Every day I was asking for more failures, more risk, but to be who I am today. I was asking for it for a reason. I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't take being a single mom of 3 kids with $156. I would want to continue to go through that journey to be who I am today, because I went through this great recession. I came into it a different person than I'm going out, and then who I've evolved and learned and grown from that point, from all the failures of the reason, right? And what I also learned is you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and you learn to do more than one thing, and you learn to invest in yourself, invest in people, invest in your community, show up every single day, and opportunities. I don't have to keep asking for more shit to happen to me, because now I live a different life, that I'm not the victim. It happened to me for a reason. How am I going to learn from it? I can't change other people's choice. I can only change my direction, my choices, and be a better person, a better leader from that. And so, it's just evolving and growing and learning and being around the right people. Be around the people that want to push you to be a better person. Be around the people that want you to be successful, versus the ones that are going to be the haters, are going, she doesn't deserve that. They didn't see the hustle behind it. They didn't see the tears behind it. They didn't see my checking account, because I can guarantee you that nobody showed up with a pizza at my front door with me and my kids, and so it's just, stop being the victim of the situation in society and this and that. Just how can you make it better? How can you get out of that mindset? And how can you make a difference? Whatever you're complaining about, how do you show up differently? How do you make it better?
It's such a difficult thing. I mean, so much you said has resonated with me, and I'm sure with the audience. I'm also a single parent who's been down and out and had one income. I had to pivot to multiple streams of income. So I get that. And it's not just the people that don't think you deserve it that might be not rooting you on, but people who are jealous of your ability to pivot and adapt when they can't seem to find their way out of their own stuff. So then they look at you and they think, oh, they hate on you because they cannot be you. They can't pull themselves from that. And going through a divorce, going through addiction, going through financial stress, any of those things alone could be totally derailing. You've had all three almost simultaneously.
And my mom passed away of cancer at the same time during the recession.
Okay, wow, that's a lot.
Notice. I mean, I haven't even touched the surface. That's just a little bit of the stuff. I had a brother who stole everything of value out of my house, left my newborn 5-week-old with a neighbor that I didn't know. I mean, the list goes on, and it's just, now I just have this rule that if something happens, I have 5 minutes to vent about it, but how am I going to fix it?
That's a great rule, because no one comes up with solutions, right? Everyone wants to be in this mentality of like, come on, and misery loves company. Let's talk about this. But there's not a lot of solutions going on. And the truth is, you have a story, I have a story. We all have the story. We all have the history. They're all different. Some are worse than others. But the reality is there is a solution to get out, and it starts with your mindset.
Yep.
So if someone's going through something like this, what's a good piece of advice? Like, what's the very first step when you said, F this, I have to stop complaining and change my life? What's that first step you took to make that change?
One of my first things were, changing my environment. because my environment was sucking everything out of me, right? Even I had to realize that whatever was on my schedule in auto rotation for that day, I had to break the pattern. So if it was getting up at this time, and then I did these things, and then I had lunch, and then I did these things, that wasn't working. Or and then I had dinner, and then I left and went out all night, and then I did it all. And so I had to break the pattern because my mindset only knew that pattern. And that's kind of like, Jessica, if you stub your toe, right? And we've all been programmed that when you stub your toe, you're supposed to say what? Ouch. And that hurt, right? But that's all coming from your subconscious mind because that's what we've programmed it. So if for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because it changes and it takes 14 days to break a habit or gain a habit or whatever, 21 days, it changes all the time. I hear different people. But let's just say for 14 days, Jessica, you stubbed your toe and you laughed. Do you think that once you went through that process and you found that stubbing your toe was actually funny and it didn't really hurt, are you going to say ouch anymore? No.
Yeah.
And so, because seriously, I could stub my toe right now and it really not hurt, but I would be like, ouch, because that is just human nature. That's what we learned. And that's what we've been programmed, that if you stub that toe or if you hit your funny bone, you know, or if you, whatever, you know, and so that's the same of your cycle, your everyday program cycle, right? So you have to break it up. How do you do things differently? Maybe you take a different route to work because you're on autopilot driving from point A to point B because you've done it for so long. What if you took another route? Because now you're going to be more alert to the surroundings. So you can do the same thing to your calendar and to your life. Is if you take a different route in your life, I guarantee you're going to get a different outcome.
100%. And to me, like changing that daily structure and that daily routine, that's the most important thing you can do because that just sets the tone for your life. Are you organized? Are you doing things that are positively affecting you? Or are you kind of like in this rut mode? Because really a rut and being on a roll and being in a rut are the same thing. It's just one is negative and one is positive. So you're going to make it a positive roll or you're going to make it a negative rut. That's the difference.
Yep. And it's just, you know, align yourself with the right people and know that every 3 to 6 months, you should be relooking at the alignment.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Get rid of people. You don't have to get rid of people out of your alignment. However, you align yourself on that day with who you need in your life. Then you align yourself with the people that really you don't need in your life. And I'm talking about the takers.
Yeah.
Okay. Or the people that aren't supportive and the people that really didn't care if you're there or not, but you were filling in that empty seat regardless. Right. And if you started moving above average, is that seat still open for you? Because they would probably be uncomfortable if you showed up in a better light than they did. So you 100%. Might as well know that they're now going to be your haters, right? So you have to mindset, get through that and be prepared for that because it will happen. Because it's okay to go up the ladder and people will fall off of your ladder. But that's only because you want to become a better person, right? A better leader, a better friend, a better mom. And so by doing that, we align ourselves with the people that are going to push us and that are going to challenge us.
I think people are afraid of that part of success because they think about realignment in a really aggressive, confrontational way. But what really happens is this natural, organic movement and shift in your life where you're just taking the time to do the things that are on a daily basis better for you. You're making those choices. And naturally, the people that are not aligned with that choice are going to fall off. It's not going to have to be a confrontation in every instance. In most cases, you'll just grow apart and float away from each other. And they'll go on to quietly hate your success because they can't replicate it and they can't get on board with your mindset. But it won't have to be a really confrontational thing. And I think a lot of times people are afraid of that, or they're afraid. What they don't understand is to grow, you have to let go of those old stories, those old ways, that old mentality. And there is people get scared because they're like, who am I without that?
Mhm.
Well, you're morphing into this new amazing human being that's more aware and more successful. So why would you want to hang on to any of that negativity?
No, it's getting rid of the FOMO of, regardless of what it is, of, oh, I'm not in that group anymore, they're not going to invite me to dinner, or sitting at the bar, that stool's not going to be available, or I'm not going to be able to go, whatever, have conversations about drama. And that's okay, because I can guarantee you on the other side of that is so much brighter and bigger.
Yeah.
And you're going to meet some amazing people that are going to have your back, that are going to push you, that are going to network with you, and are going to put you in the right rooms with the right people for you to meet and continue to grow, so that you can be, all of these things that you want to be, and that you can accomplish that. You can celebrate your wins with people that understand your wins, instead of celebrating your losses and all the negative impact that you want to create on that bar stool or on social media, engaging on stupid posts, So it's just,
yeah. And those connections, it's a personal connection. It's not just about business and growing your business, but getting that real connection with someone who understands your journey and wants to see you develop in a positive way. Because up until that point, we've trained ourselves to believe that these negative influences in our life are what a real connection is. But that's not a real connection. That's just wallowing in each other's misery. A real connection is when you find people who love and support you when you're down, but also when you're up. Because that's actually a harder person to find, are the people who stand by you when you're up in a real true way.
Yes. Well, and it's, it's understanding also that you're your own competition. And stop looking at people in your same field as your competition. Wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I'm competing against you today. Yep. What are we learning today? What are we growing today? Because if your competition you set as an average person that doesn't ever grow, you're always going to be the mediocre person that they are, if that's who you've considered your competition.
Yeah.
And so you align yourself that you're your competition. You might need them to feed some fuel. However, you're your own competition, and you wake up coming up with better stuff than anyone.
And that's all about just finding your confidence and finding your empowerment and owning whatever zone of genius you have. Own that. Bring it to the table no matter what you do, because even if someone else has a similar zone of genius, they cannot do it your way with your personality. You're bringing so much of you and infusing that into whatever you do, and no one else is you. So
no,
really,
I love that. Yes, I love that. Because my mindset used to not be like that, because I was in these companies that were like, oh my gosh, this is my stuff. Don't look at my stuff. You're going to mimic my stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm all about, listen, we work together and we're all going to share together so that we can all improve together.
Yeah.
And it's a better way than, oh, they're going to copy me. They're going to copy me. It's okay, because guess what? They're not going to show up as me. And that's totally different, because it's the human connection and the human rapport that builds the audience, that builds the sale.
100%. And speaking of which, I want you to tell the audience, what is it that you are focusing on right now? I know that you're writing another book, you're about to launch it. So what's that book called?
That is Unsilence Your Voice.
Okay, that sounds empowering.
Yep. So your past doesn't define your today. And it's really just letting go of the fear of people really knowing who you are, because it's okay. Because I promise you that you'll align with a bigger power if you just open yourself up to be vulnerable and to own whatever your past was.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it's Unsilence Your Voice, which then led to my podcast, Unsilence Your Brand. Because you have to open your voice up first to be able to know what your brand is. So it's just, that process of understanding your brand so that you can talk to community about your past to develop your brand.
I love the name. I really do, because I get a visual picture of, someone like ripping the duct tape off their mouth.
That's so the cover of the book.
Oh my God. See, I feel you, because it's so, that's so funny, because it's, to me, it's like such an impactful visual word to say unsilence. Like you were previously.
It is a piece of duct tape.
Oh my
Yes.
God. I can't wait. When's the book launching?
Hopefully tomorrow. We're like working behind the scenes on stuff right now, like Amazon and putting it on there and stuff like that. So fulfillment, but hopefully by tomorrow it will launch.
And that's your second one, right?
That's the second one this year. Mm-hmm.
What's your other book called?
$1 Million Trap.
Ooh, and that's for?
That is talking about really how to step into that, that $1 million mark. People worry, oh, I want six figures. What about 7? Right? But then when they get to 1 million, ego happens. They begin to fail because they thought they arrived. They quit focusing on that a goal, because they got to that goal and they only set it for 1 million. They forgot to set it higher than 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So they go back into 6 figures. So this book talks about how do you stay at 1 million and then grow and continue to grow past that $1 million mark, and talks about, my past, this wasn't my income before. How did I get there? It talks about the risk. It talks about the failures. It talks about human connection and all the things, hiring, and just everything you can think about that's going to help you get to that level and stay there. Celebrate those mini wins. And how do you celebrate it? You take a percentage of your income and you go put it into a new pair of stilettos or a new outfit, because when you show up the next day in your new Christian Louboutin, you're going to feel a lot better. Mm-hmm. Or your new Rolex. But every time you slip those shoes on or you put that Rolex on, you're going to remember the transaction that got you there.
Yeah.
So that you can continue to have those small wins. Also, you take a percentage and you put it back into educating yourself. You put it back 100%. Into learning yourself so that you don't stay at that flat line.
That's a powerful message, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, when I'm coaching them, they're like always worried. They know what the goal is. And I'm like, but that's not the end. It's not the destination, right? We're going to keep pushing the goalposts further and further back as we creep up on it, because that's how we're going to continue to develop and evolve. There's no end point. We're evolving consistently throughout the life of the business.
Yep. And, learning, because I do coaching as well. And it's more about, no one has a plan. They don't have a journey plan. They don't have a life plan. They don't even have a roadmap of their business plan. Like, what's your marketing plan look like? What is your business plan like? So that's how I always start off. I'm like, before we have our, contact or call, I need to do some discovery. Can you send me all of your, send me your roadmap, send me your goal plan, send me your marketing plan. What is your message to market?
Yeah.
What's your website look like? And half of the time it's like, it's just like, even if we implement those small things, you're only going to move forward,
100%. Yeah. And I always tell my clients, like, you need a roadmap, but you need to be adaptable and be able to pivot, because whatever you plan, some obstacle is going to try to derail you, and you have to be able to be flexible. So always make a plan, because that will, showcase your goals and keep you on track, but be willing and ready to make adjustments as you go along.
Oh, absolutely. Look at COVID. Right? I mean, we didn't even have, it was, you woke up and you're having to make those changes without even thinking. So, having a business mind, you always have to be open to something, that something is going to interrupt your pattern at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of the time that your pattern is interrupted, it means you needed to learn from a lesson, or you needed to think of bigger opportunities that you were thinking too small.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking at it in a different of, oh my gosh, I just wasted all that money. No, you didn't. It happened for a reason.
Yeah, 100%. It's always either a lesson, you're either going to succeed or you're going to learn a lesson. That's the only two outcomes. So yep. I feel that. I'm so excited for you. So I want everyone to find you and get your stuff. So we have 2 books. You could find them both on Amazon, I'm sure, right? Yep. Well, one launching tomorrow. Yep. Unsilence Your Voice. Find you on your podcast, Unsilence Your Brand. Let everybody else know how they can follow you on social media. What's your website? Give them the details.
Well, you can find me on Facebook only through my public page now, because Facebook has this personal profile that you can only have 5,000 people. So I had to open up a public figure page. So you can find me at Tracy Cousineau Connect.
Okay.
And that's cousin with an EAU, Connect. And if you are in Metro Atlanta and you want to buy or sell, you can find me at tracycousineau.com, and we will take care of all of your real estate needs. And you can find me on Instagram at tracy.cousineau. And again, that's cousin with an EAU. And I would love to engage with everyone that's listening and follow me on our social platforms.
Thank you so much. I love this podcast. You're just full of energy. You're full of knowledge. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. And guys, make sure you follow Tracy, find her on her website, buy her books, do all the things, because she's just such a wealth of knowledge. And if you found this podcast helpful or interesting, which I know you absolutely did, please follow, like, and review us. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, slay your day.
Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
Thanks for tuning in to Creating Success Out of Failure. Please share this with someone that needs to hear it, post it on social media, and leave us a 5-star review. I'll catch you on the next one.